Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 15. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribrajakachaja Astotara Sata Shri Srimadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prince Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 15. Yamina vyatayantyete purusham purusharshaba samadukka sukham dhiram somritadvaya kalpate. Yamina vyatayantyete purusham purusharshaba samadukka sukham dhiram somritadvaya kalpate. Yamina vyathayantyete purusham purusharshaba samadukka sukham dhiram sromitradvaya kalpate. Yam, one who, he certainly, na never, vyathayanti are distressing, ete all these, purusham to a person, purusharshaba is best among men, sama unaltered, dukkha distress, sukham happiness, dhiram patient, sahi amritadvaya for liberation, kalpate is considered eligible. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Anyone, or best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Purport. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnashrama institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyasa, is a painstaking situation, but one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts sannyasa, order of life, in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it is difficult, to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as an old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. This is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. Yam hina vyatayantyete purusham purusharshabha sama dukkha sukadhiram somritadvaya kalpate. So here Krishna continues his teachings to Arjuna. Actually, he's teaching us through Arjuna. In Bengal, there is a saying that one teaches the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter, which means that in India, in the Vedic times, and even up to 50, 60 years ago, Indian families were joint families. Not only father and mother and children, but also brothers-in-law, relatives, all lived together in one house. Actually, even today, the more conservative communities in India, like the Marwaris, business people, the Gujaratis, also business people, people who have resources, people who are rich and powerful, they usually live in a joint family. So when a girl marries, she goes to live with the family of the husband. But in that house, there is the husband's father, the husband's mother, his sister, his brothers, uncles, all together. So the girl, she needs to learn the way of working in that particular house. Basically, the business of managing a house is the same everywhere, but not every mother-in-law is the same. We are, after all, individual. So when the daughter-in-law, the new wife, comes into the house, she's a stranger. She doesn't know the mother-in-law. She doesn't have a relationship. So it is very difficult for the mother-in-law to teach her. She hasn't also got that confidential relationship. So when she wants to teach the daughter-in-law something, she teaches the daughter in front of the daughter-in-law. Suppose they're in the kitchen and the mother-in-law is teaching how to make a certain preparations, how to prepare a certain dish. And she knows that the daughter-in-law doesn't know how to do it, so she teaches the daughter, and the daughter-in-law, by watching and listening, she learns the process. So the mother-in-law can teach the daughter because mother and daughter have a very intimate relationship. Whereas mother and daughter-in-law, the relationship is being built. So in the same way, when we take an interest in Krishna consciousness, we slowly have to build that relationship. It doesn't happen overnight. Of course, when we surrender to Krishna, Krishna says, if you surrender to me, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami. I will release you from all sinful activity. That means that our previous account, through which we were brought into this material world, into this material body, the anadi karama phale, the fruit of beginningless karma or interested work, that accumulated karma is wiped away by Krishna. But then the relationship or the business of developing our relationship with Krishna begins little by little. Krishna slowly teaches us how to become free from the mentality or the consciousness which caused us to come into the material world to begin with. Just like a thief, he may be arrested and put into prison, but it doesn't mean he stops being a criminal. The purpose of the prison is to teach him not to be a criminal, but it requires time. Similarly, it requires time for our relationship with Krishna to become mature. So Krishna doesn't teach us directly because we don't have that intimate relationship with him. He teaches his devotees. Krishna is everywhere. He's available for everyone by his energy. Just like in America, the president is there, but he's not everywhere to be seen. It's not that you just walk down the road and you can meet the president of the United States. No, but his energy is there. In every government building, in every law, in every police station, in every rule which the citizens have to follow, the energy of the president is there. But he himself as a person, he is aloof. He is only available to his intimate circle. So in the same way, Krishna says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. He says the entire universe, jagat sarvam, the entire universe is permeated by my impersonal energy. Avyakta murtina means my form which is not directly manifested. Matstani sarva bhutani, because everything is coming from me, Krishna says, everything is within me. Na chaham teshu avasthitaha. Yet I am not in them. In other words, Krishna's energy is everywhere to be connected, but he himself is the property of his intimate devotees. So when he wants to teach us something, he teaches us through his devotees. Arjuna was Krishna's devotee, therefore he was able to be taught by Krishna because of their intimate relationship. Krishna and Arjuna were not only related as cousins, they were also deep, intimate friends. And in the 4th chapter, when Krishna explains that knowledge of our identity in relationship with God is coming down by guru-disciple parampara or disciplic succession system. And Krishna says, now I have come onto this planet 5,000 years ago with you, Arjuna, because this knowledge has become interrupted. This chain of disciplic succession has become interrupted. So I'm again establishing this knowledge for the people in the material world through you. Not that Arjuna needed to be taught. Arjuna is eternally perfect. Therefore, Krishna says, Sa evayam mayatidya yoga prokta puratana. That today I am again explaining to you this yoga prokta puratana, this very, very old science of my connection with the living entity. Why? Why is he explaining to Krishna? Bhaktusime, because you're my devotee. Shakacheti, Sakacha iti, because you're my friend. What is this? What does it mean to be Krishna's devotee and to be Krishna's friend? What it means is rahasyam hi etaduttamam. That friendship with Krishna, that status of being a devotee to Krishna, qualifies one to understand the science of yoga. I was just reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Chaitanya was explaining the science of yoga to the Mayavadi impersonalist philosophers, sannyasis in Benares, he told them straight out that you cannot understand the Upanishads, you cannot understand the Vedanta Sutra unless you study Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is called Amalam Puranam. It is the purest history of God's relationship with the material world. In fact, the Bhagavatam begins with the aphorism from Vedanta Sutra, Jam Mad Yasya Yataha. The very first verse of Bhagavatam, Jam Mad Yasya Yato Vayadi Tarasas Charteso Bigyaswarat, begins with Jam Mad Yasya Yataha, which is the second aphorism of Vedanta Sutra. The first sutra in the Vedanta is Atataha Brahma Gigyasa. Now it is time to inquire about spirit. Because now means now that you have a human body. You don't see an animal inquiring about spiritual life. The animals don't have the power to understand spirituality. We can benefit the animals by associating with them, by giving them prasadam, by letting them hear the holy name. But from themselves, it is not possible to understand spiritual life unless you have a human body. Therefore, Vyasadeva says, I've written all the Vedas. They contain so many instructions about making sacrifices because we are born with nothing. Everything is given to us. Therefore, it is our duty to recognize the higher authorities who are supplying us with our necessities of life. And that is called yajna. Therefore, Krishna says, yajna shishta shina shanto. One who is shanto, one who is peaceful, is one who performs yajna, who is not dishonest, who is not a thief. Yajna means admitting that I'm not a thief. Thank you, my dear demigods, for supplying sunlight, for supplying rain, for supplying the earth, for supplying the seasons, so that I may live peacefully. So this yajna, Krishna says, makes you peaceful. Yajna shishta is that we accept only what is left over from yajna. Therefore, before we eat, we offer to Krishna. That offering to Krishna of food that we cook is called yajna. We don't directly eat. We recognize that this food belongs to God, it comes from God. Before I eat it, I offer it to Him. Even in Christianity, we have the habit, before we eat, we save grace for what we are about to receive. My dear Lord, may you be thanked. In that way, we thank God for supplying us our necessities. And by doing that, muchyante sarva kilbishai, we become free from all illusion, from all karma, from all sin. So, this process of yajna, or performing sacrifice, is the subject matter of the four Vedas. They deal with the chanting of the mantras, they deal with the actual prayers, they deal with the meter, They deal with how to perform sacrifice, and every sacrifice, even if it is to the demigods, we may perform a sacrifice to thank the sun god for sunlight. We may perform a sacrifice to thank Indra for the rain, but in that sacrifice, performed by qualified brahmanas, qualified priests, Lord Narayan as Shalagram Shila is always present to remind everyone that actually, even though Indra is supplying the rain, even though Surya is supplying the sunlight, Chandra is supplying the moonlight, Varuna is supplying the ocean, even though these demigods are supplying these necessities, they are supplying under the direction, under the jurisdiction of Lord Narayan. Just like in the government, you may get so many things done in the government, but everything done by the government is coming from the executive head. So the Vedas deal with this. Now, once you understand the necessity of yajna, and you want to go to a higher platform, in other words, you want to go to try and understand the reason why you're in the material world. When you want to understand who are you really, what is the purpose of your life, then you have to approach a teacher. You have to approach a guru. And then Vyasadeva, for those people who are inquisitive about the spirituality, he wrote the 108 Upanishads. Upanishad means to sit next to someone who is learned. So Upanishad means you give up your material engagement, you approach a spiritual master, and you sit at his feet and you dedicate your life for spirituality. One of the greatest spiritual teachers, Shankaracharya, you couldn't get instruction from him unless you accepted sannyas. In other words, first you give up your material ideas, and then we can begin the process of spiritual life. Because you cannot understand spiritual life through material endeavors. You have to sublimate those material endeavors for the pleasure of God. Then you can understand your spiritual identity. And in this verse, Krishna says that if you can learn this art of tolerating happiness and distress and not being disturbed by that, you become dhira. Dhira means someone who understands that he is spirit. Only through that understanding that you're spirit can you tolerate happiness and distress. And it begins by understanding that the material body is a temporary situation. This was explained some verses before by Krishna. Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara. That the body goes through different phases. Youth, old age, death. Tata dehantra praptir. And then when you come to the moment of death, you get another body. And dhira tatra namuyate. Again, this word is used by Krishna. Dhira. Dhira tatra namuyate. One who is a dhira is not disturbed, is not bewildered by such a change. Everyone in the material world is absolutely bewildered by the different phase of the body. Nobody wants to be ugly. Nobody wants to be sick. Everybody doesn't want to get old. It's a big problem for people in the material world. Old age and disease. But one who is dhira understands it's a temporary situation. I was born, therefore I'm going to die. But me, myself, I'm not going to die. So Krishna teaches Arjuna to teach us, and it begins with the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a special concession given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who taught us the process of understanding our relationship with God simply by chanting His holy name. By chanting Krishna's holy name, then Krishna within the heart, He will inspire us how to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. And Rupa Goswami actually gave a definition who is a dhira. His definition is Vacha Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udaru Pashta Vegam, Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Dhira Sarvam Apimam Pritivim Sashishyat. That is the first verse in the Upadeshamrita, or the book of teaching spiritual life. That Adhira, first of all, must learn to control his tongue. Controlling the tongue means you speak only the subject matter of Krishna, subject matter of your relationship with God. And you only take Krishna Prasad. Vachuvigam Manasa. Manasa means the mind. You control the mind by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, by chanting the holy names. The mind will go here and there and everywhere, but you must know how to bring it back. There's a funny story about that, because one day, one fakir, one sage, he came to a king and he said, "My dear king, I brought you a gift." And this gift was a lamp. And the fakir said, "If you rub this lamp, a genie will come out and he will do anything you want. Whatever you want, he will do it." So the king says, "Oh," he says, "wonderful." He says, "I need someone like that, because I have so many things I need to do in my kingdom. So if I have a genie or a special spirit who can do all these things, that will save me so much trouble." However, the fakir said, there is one condition. And the condition is you have to keep this genie busy 24/7. 24 hours a day, he has to be busy. If you don't keep him busy, he will kill you. So the king thought about it and said, "No problem. I can keep him busy. I have a huge kingdom. I have a million things to do. Thousands of ministers and dependents, so many activities. I can keep him busy night and day for many, many lifetimes." So he accepted the proposal of the fakir, and he rubbed the lamp, and the genie came out, and he said, "Master, I am at your service. Please engage me. Give me some service." So the king says, "Okay, take a broom and sweep all the floors, all the carpets in the palace." So the genie was and within a few minutes he came back, all finished. So the king thought, "Oh, this guy is fast." He said, "All right, go and sweep the courtyard and the stables where the elephants and the horses are kept. Give bath to the elephants, take care of the horses." So off he went, the genie, doing the work. And within a few minutes, again, he was back. "Sire, finished." So the king thought, I have a problem here. And then what he was thinking, the genie began to stretch his hands towards him. And the king says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well," he says, "I'm going to kill you if you don't engage me." So the king was worried, and he said to him, "All right, take the broom, sweep every street in my kingdom, every palace in my kingdom, every house. Don't come back until you're finished." So the genie, off he went. Then the king called his minister and said, "I have a problem. This genie is going to kill me if I don't keep him busy." So the minister was very intelligent, and he said, "I have a solution for you." So what they did is, in the courtyard of the palace, they put a tall pole in the middle of the courtyard. When the genie came back, he said, "Sire, I finished sweeping the whole kingdom. Please give me some service." So the king says, "You see that pole there?" "Yes." "Well, you go and climb to the top. Then, when you get to the top, climb to the bottom. When you get to the bottom, climb back to the top. Off you go." So the genie went off, up and down, up and down, up and down. So he kept going up and down the pole, and when the king needed him for something, he would call him, engage him in his service, and put him back up and down in the pool. So the genie is like our mind. Our mind is always ready to undermine our spiritual activities. She is ready to kill us at any time. Don't trust your mind. So, how to engage the mind? We got to put it on the Hare Krishna pole, going up and down. And this going up and down is chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And when we need to use the mind for something, we use it. When it's finished, we put it back on the pole. So this is the story of the genie. And this is Adhira. Adhira thinks like that. He doesn't allow his mind to sabotage his mission of life. our mission of life is not to improve our material situation. In any case, the big secret is that you cannot improve your material situation. Whatever you were born with, you got a package deal. And within that package deal, you got so much enjoyment, so much success, so much pain, and so much failure, and you cannot change that equation, no matter what you do. Therefore, Krishna says, Sama dukkha same kritva, sukha dukkha same kritva. Be equal to happiness and distress. Labha labho, jaya jo. Gain and loss, victory or defeat, it's the same. And he says here also, dukkha sukham dhiram. This is the process of Adhira, that he can control his mind. So, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam. If you can control your tongue and your mind, then you can control your anger. Jiva Vegam, controlling the stomach. Udara Upashta Vegam, controlling the genitals. So, if you can control these 6 urges, then you become Adhira. And then you become qualified to actually teach others the process of devotional service. Everybody wants to be a guru, but before you can become a guru or a teacher, you must control these 6 things. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha, Jiva, Udara Upashna. When you can control these 6 urges, Vega means an urge, then you can become a teacher. Not before. Thank you very much. So, we have our usual crew. Thank you very much. Atmavidya, humble obeisances to everyone. Anna Maria also offers her respects. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Rob Illings is saying, happy to say we live in a compound here also. Happy family. Good. Anna Maria says, regarding the word tolerate, mentioned in the verse, how can I identify the subtle line between being tolerant and taking actions against a negative situation and behavior? Just like the question is, how can I be faithful to Srila Prabhupada and at the same time avoid criticizing some of his disciples who may not follow his instructions according to my vision? How do I balance that? How do I teach without making offense? Well, it's like walking a tightrope. Devotional service is like walking on a tightrope. And in the beginning, it's impossible to do. You fall off. But if you practice, you can learn to do it. Many acrobats can do it. So by our relationship with Krishna, by becoming his friend, by being able to enter into the circle of Krishna, through one of his devotees, then Krishna will guide us. Just like a child, he may not be able to walk very well, but his parents take care, and as he grows, he begins to walk, he begins to talk, he begins to become mature. So our spiritual life is childlike. We are like little children. And as we practice our devotional service, then gradually, we learn the art. Krishna will inspire us. We will say the correct things. Good. Thank you very much. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Hare Krishna.